Click the link to join the channel here over at subscribe. So I have a mailbox if you want to mail me some comics or whatever. So Daisy Ridley is set to do another Star Wars movie that probably nobody cares about, but I suspect they're still going to see because I think she has a weird, like, this parasocial relationships with certain actors is a thing, and I think her and Brie Larson are able to rally a fan base. It's kind of bizarre. So Boyega hears about that, and he wisely realizes, that sounds like a really solid paycheck. So he does an interview where he expresses interest for another Disney cut of the mouse pie. Says he's open to return to the franchise despite his weird earlier comments. Wow, what changed in those 4 years? Because even if it's the Star Wars movie is mediocre, and it's still gonna pay a lot, and people will probably still see it just based on the power of the Star Wars name. And maybe 4 years has gone by since the last film. Maybe people have kind of forgotten how bad it is, and they're trying to get a new audience. I guess that's their hope. I mean, they have Star Wars. They can't just abandon it. And you look at them, you're like, so why don't you guys kind of go in a different direction with it? Try to go back to the older Star Wars and be less, woke. And they look at you like you have two heads. Like they go, but that's not why we're making movies. We're not making movies to make money. We're making propaganda. So the only reason I'm doing such an admittedly fluffy fluff video is because Boyega was running his mouth about Star Wars when the films concluded, and I thought that was weird at the time. He was very vocal about what he didn't like about his character in the movie, which is a bizarre function of the internet age, that people are able to get out there and directly speak to people instead of just talking to an inner circle, and keeping those thoughts off the public, which would be like a reasonably prudent person would say, yeah, I'm probably not going to disparage a company I work with. That's a weird flex. Because instead of the old days of doing careful print interviews or having your handler guiding you through things, now they have direct social media, which the internet has turned out to be a mistake for a lot of people. And you see how deep of an echo chamber these people are in. They live in their own Hollywood world. It's. I don't know if you remember the Gal Gadot and a bunch of these other people doing that Imagine video from their gated communities in their mansions. We're all in this together. People look at him like, please shut the F up. So after Star Wars, he was very vocal about not wanting to be put in the Disney Plus movies, which is not something he should have publicly said, which, like, a child would understand that, because it disparages the streaming branch of the company. His lack of decorum about such things was weird. He doesn't seem to notice that those kind of comments are not a good idea in Hollywood. If you look around and you don't see anyone doing what you're doing, you probably want to question, okay, well, what's going on here? What's the lay of the land? To publicly insult a company and close a door to a possible future gig is a really stupid thing to do. Social media has removed a lot of social niceties and allowed you to really see that a lot of actors are very sheltered people. It's been 4 years since his last horrible Star Wars movie, and it's not the actor's fault for the bad movies, it's the writers, but more importantly, it's the people above them who are telling them this is the direction we want to go with Star Wars. Everything else about the movie was fine. It was just like the people who crafted it. So the Boyega was in the Woman King, which is about the Dahomey slave trade of other Africans. Except for some wacky reason, the movie kind of undersold that aspect and switched it to the French and English, who were forcing them to do it, and the Dahomey tribe just wanted to trade palm tree oil. Except that's actually kind of the whole reverse. They were really happy about trading people, when actually the Europeans forced them to stop the trade of human cargo. It was a bizarre fantasy world of Bolshevik Hollywood, and as a consequence, the film lost, I don't know, $50 to $100 million. So now he's realizing what most actors realize, that being in demand is fleeting, and he seemed to have this overinflated view of himself because he was in Star Wars and he got a lot of positive reinforcements from social media. Twitter followers do not result in a company putting you in a movie. Finn was just part of an ensemble cast. He was the secondary line of characters, and the cast was already too big. They were splitting screen time up with just too many people, none of whom were critical to the movie. And the reason it did as well as it did is because it has the name Star Wars attached to it, and people just wanted to finish all 9 movies that they started in 1977. before they learn that, oh, apparently the people who run Disney now actually hate the audience, and they very much do. Now people are burned out of this whole new woke Star Wars, and it's the Disney company itself is doing just going in this bizarre direction, and the Florida and the DeSantis and the all that kind of this. I mean, the libs of TikTok. It's like had a big part to play in bringing people's I mean, this isn't going on in a vacuum. There's a culture war going on, and Disney is heavily involved in it. If you look at some of their movies, the elements that they're pushing, Disney tried to keep the fires going with the streaming shows, but they don't feel like Star Wars. They feel like some woke, diverse virtue signaling. People are done with diversity, but Star Wars isn't done with it, so people stop watching. And this next Daisy Ridley movie is going to do fine, I think, because the soy Twitter crowd will build a fan base around her and whoever her love interest is. Unless Disney goes full woke and doesn't give her a love interest, then that's going to be rough for the performance because people really need that with a female character. Rogue One admittedly did well, and it didn't have a romantic component. I don't think. I'm trying to remember. That was in 2016. I saw that in the theaters. I think that was I guess that was the last Star Wars movie I saw in the theaters, and people still had hope for Star Wars, and that hope is long gone. It's why Solo bombed. That came out in 2018, and a lot had changed in just those 2 years. People understood that Disney was going in a different direction with Star Wars, and Disney wasn't the company they thought it was, and this new direction is just not worth paying for. I mean, it's not even worth seeing for free. It's just not worth your time. They were deliberately making woke propaganda that the fans were not paying for. Solo cost like almost $300 million, and that lost a staggering amount of money. And that should have been a wake up call to the soy boys. I mean, you don't put $300 million into a movie expecting it to bomb. They thought Solo was going to be a hit. And the thing is, on its own, I think it would have been a profitable movie, but it had the baggage of the Rian Johnson and the J.J. Abrams Star Wars trilogy attached to it. And it's like people go, yeah, we just want to finish the trilogy. Like, we realize Star Wars is over. We're not going to invest in Solo. And then, because if it's successful, you'll make another one, you'll continue it. It's like, there's just no point. But it wasn't like Solo was, I guess, an improvement over the Disney trilogy. But it's like once you're done with Star Wars, you're just kind of done with it. And they could have like Disney could have responded to the criticism instead of going on social media and calling all the customers. You're not a fan. You're a customer of anything where there's an exchange of money. It's like, yeah, there's a fan base thing going on, but it's also once you get paid for something, it's like you switch into a buyer seller relationship, even if it's a friendly one. You're expecting a certain level of respect from both parties if you want to continue to engage in a voluntary transaction with Disney. It's like there's good faith and fair dealing, that just the respect and kindness and respect for the dollar that you're giving them. Every money, you know what I'm saying with that. And if people looked at Disney, they go like, yeah, we're not. You got values that are not our values, and in fact, our values are like looking upwards, and it seems like your values are looking downwards to a very warm place. Anyway, so Disney had this whole slate of future movies planned out on the assumption that Solo was going to be a success and the streaming shows were going to be a success, and they could have been. It's like everything was very close to working out for Disney, but they decided just to not do it. They snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, and the stream shows are not a success, and the firing Gina Carano was a part of it, but it's like there's all these little pieces in not giving the customer what they want. So they had these things planned out, and they had to delay their releases while they pretend that, oh yeah, we're not delaying them. I think Rian Johnson had a trilogy planned out, and all these other people had these trilogies planned out for Star Wars. Kind of the same thing happened with Marvel and DC. But then the films started across the board. These type of films started underperforming, and maybe Hollywood in general movies are starting to underperform. And don't for an instant think that Disney is going to change course. They're not a company. They're this cult to Moloch. Remember, I think of them as like the Dark Tower, the book 7 of Stephen King's. It's like this. They're this. I don't know what they are. But there's something very dark and full of ticks and leeches and worms. They don't care so much about money. Money's just a tool to them. They're reshaping society according to their beliefs of Bolshevism. I say that all the time. It's like it sounds a little tinfoil hat, but eventually it doesn't sound tinfoil hat. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, dear customer. Like once you subscribe, you become a customer. It's a different, like it does change the relationship. Or if you donate money on Subscribestar or send me a pocket knife, it's like suddenly it does change things. But even no matter what, it's like I don't argue with anyone in the comments. I've had this channel for 2 years. I know I've never argued with anyone in the comments. I've never insulted anyone, never had an ad hominem. I see the comment. If it's a question, I'll answer it. I'll give it a little heart. But even if it's an insult, I'm not going to argue with somebody in the channel. It's like I see how other people do that on some channels, and it's like, that doesn't feel very respectful to. I don't know. It's like you just can be above that. Like you can just behave like an adult, and you do that, you risk alienating somebody. Somebody will come in the comment and leave some snarky comment. It's like, okay, well maybe they'll change your mind in the future. And you know what? A lot of times they do. But if you get in there and you start engaging with them, they're not. They're going to be solidified in their belief. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next episode.